Are we?
I
Yes.
think so.
Yeah.
Just see if
Okay.
it's on.
So
Yes, we are live.
it has been way too long since we've done an episode of the Lazarus Project podcast, hasn't it? But what better way to resurrect it than with the content creator who previously joined us to talk to Tim about how he needs to, respect his vacuum cleaner if it wants to have its own independent thought. And I will say we've had some interesting conversations since, and some interesting conversations in general were had that last time, and I'm so glad that we got to welcome back the theorist, the news, the theorist, the news content creator around Mass Effect RPGs, and is just about finishing her playthrough of Dragon Age. It is none other than Paragon 7, aka Atharia, who's joining us today.
Thank you. So good being back on the, or I guess on the new channel, TK Games. Before it was Ploppy, but and I feel like the whole stream I was calling Tim Ploppy because I didn't. I had like just joined it. I was like, what is happening? But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me back. I'm excited to chat some Exodus.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Taking time out to work. Come join us again.
And I think yet again I forgot to introduce Tim as well, because I, for some reason, I do that every time we have a guest. I'm sorry, Tim.
I'll let you off this time.
But you guys both said you've watched the episode, the Exodus episode.
Yes, I did not do a cramming session in the last hour.
Oh no, definitely not me. Yeah, no, definitely watched it. It was really good though. I adjusted. The vibes are immaculate.
Is that the initial
I've been working
reaction?
from home today, so I've been binge watching Carla's videos on the lore and stuff. So I kind of half know what I'm talking about.
What was your what's your initial reactions then? Your initial thoughts? Did you like it? Did you?
I definitely didn't watch it like 30 minutes ago, but when I was watching it, I will say, because obviously like my channel is extremely Mass Effect focused and I love just consuming all the sci-fi content that I can, like not even just shows, but obviously through games. I'll read sci-fi books and stuff like that. And the one thing I noticed right away is it felt extremely unique. In terms of like, I thought I was gonna turn on this show and kind of be like, yeah, like let's, like just kind of like what other people are calling it, like it's kind of like the next Mass Effect and that type of vibe. But I did not get that. I like it felt completely unique. The time dilation aspect of it, which they've been pushing as Exodus's kind of unique kind of fingerprint. You could feel that in the episode. And yeah, I think I had written something down. I had while I was watching it, I said it felt like a mix between like Interstellar meets dystopian sci-fi.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the vibe that I got. And I was like, this is completely different from Mass Effect, obviously same genre with sci-fi, but I find that Mass Effect doesn't deal with that at all, really, except for the Andromeda, Bamf forward 600 years. But this one, it was like, it was saying the time dilation between Nick and his daughter as he was trying to chase her through, all of these gates. And it really struck me. I think the uniqueness of the time dilation, and also really curious about how that's going to affect us in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, did you like the episode as well?
Yeah, it was really good. I like. It does make me wonder how they're going to incorporate that into a game, because you've got essentially by the time it's all finished, it's been 84 years from the home planet when they left, 15 years for the guy that was chasing to save his daughter, and what's she, about 50, 60 years of her journey.
Yeah.
So you've missed a massive chunk of everything that's been going on around you because you've been chasing something. So I kind of get how they would incorporate that into like a choice sort of thing in like, you know, your home world, and you need something to fix. I don't know, fix it, like the water purifier or something. So you go off to find a water purifier, and it takes you 10 years. Takes you two years to get that back and then travel back. But for the home world, it's been like 10 years. So are you coming back to a home world that's just died of drought? Or, you know what I mean? It's like you're going to have to, I can see them going to have to give you these kind of dilemmas of where you're going to have to go and do the one thing, or you're going to do another thing, and it's going to affect. But yeah, I don't quite know how you tie that into a story where, yeah, you could go off chasing the bad guy, but it's been 50 years since you make it back and your planet's just died out anyway or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it almost feels like, because I was thinking about how is Exodus gonna differentiate itself from, or I guess like have that unique fingerprint in this choice RPG genre. And I feel like that's the key, right? Because you're not even fighting like I'm not even sure who the antagonist is going to be, but it feels like the main thing you're going to be fighting is the time dilation. Because
The Celestials are, I think, are kind of the villains, really, the
oh, for
evolved
sure.
humans.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I feel like just in terms of player experience, you're going to be having like small mental breakdowns over like, do I go fix the water purifier? Or, you know, like will going to fix the water purifier kill my loved ones back home? Like I feel like that's going to be kind of the thing that players are fighting the most. Besides
I
for,
think
you know, like, do I go save my planet from the Celestials, or you know, stay at home and join the fight? Like it's going to be interesting for sure.
That's like, I mean, just having, I mean, RPGs in general have branching narratives and so many different ways that they can go. Adding in a time mechanic, surely that you just, that is going to be so hard to determine all, you know, the different variables that you're going to get from it. Surely,
I have no idea how big the game is going to be. You know, like are if they're aiming for, like, let's say on the low end, if they're aiming for like a 50-hour game, maybe. How many different branches are there going to be? It's going to be every single choice you make, it feels like, is going to have that kind of consequence, which I think also works in Exodus's favor, though, because it will always feel like your choices matter. And I feel like that's something that obviously, you know, Mass Effect has struggled with the past, at least for Andromeda. And I feel like that's going to be a huge, like, I think something in that we're going to hear about with the people playing it early on is going to be like, I really felt the consequences for my choices. And yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to pull it off.
I think one of the like the developer Q&As that they did, he almost kind of gave something away, where he says at the end of Act 1, you have to decide who you kind of leave behind or something, which is going to affect your play style or something. So I'm guessing he had to stop himself. He was like, oh yeah, I'm not so allowed to tell you that. But
I remembered them saying that could happen. I didn't realize that's a definitive story point. And if it is, that's gonna be interesting.
No, for sure. I'm going to be every 5 seconds mental breakdown over like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go for a quick trip in my ship through one of the gates, you know, the Gates of Heaven, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you're like, oh, look, all my friends are dead. Like, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, getting video footage for that's going to be a nightmare, isn't it?
Oh man, it's going to be just wrecking ball.
How many playthroughs before we get footage of every scenario?
Oh man, I'm hoping it's something ridiculous like 30.
Oh, I mean, like, I think one of the genius things about like not just and I kind of tried to say it in like our more recent Extras video, which was like I feel like both in that story trailer they released with Vargas and his partner who he unfortunately like lost due to time dilation, and the Prime episode, it's kind of selling. It's really selling the idea of like the people you leave behind, and you know how the time mechanic affects those other people, how it affects. But I think the difference with the Prime episode is it's all about regular people as well. You know, it's I don't believe these two characters are going to be like in any way like the main characters. I see it as kind of a this is showing you exactly what it's going to be like if you have to leave someone behind, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's the best way of doing it, is promoting how it affects regular people, and because it makes them so much more alive, doesn't it?
But on the flip side of that, with the marketing they're doing, you're going to go in the game going, right, I'm taking everybody with me. You could all just cram in the ship. I'm not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we only have 4 seats on the ship. We have 6 companions. You guys are buddy sharing these seats.
I believe they said
No, definitely.
friends and family as well. I don't believe they've just said friends exclusively. I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think
Yeah, I
there's
heard
some kind
family.
of I think there's some kind of implication that there's not just your companions you can have relationships with, maybe.
Um,
I hope you can't have your relationships with your family.
when I
That's
was
Oh,
weird.
no, not saying that.
through, oh, you mean like a romance? Okay, we're not going there. But I think when I was reading the thing, it said, so we're gonna play as June
Yeah.
Aslan. And I believe he has a brother in charge of Lydian. So maybe that's what they were talking about in terms of like you would see changes to your half
Ah,
brother.
yes. No, that would make more
I don't
sense.
know. Yeah, just in terms of the family, that's the only thing I could think of. But
Because I was thinking more along the lines of like I suppose starting your own family sort of thing. I suppose.
oh, from what I've seen, it seems like we're pretty young. You know, like if I had to clock June from just, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to have a full customizable character in terms of being able to make them like really older versus really young.
Mm.
I would clock them at around like almost Ryder's age, like 25, 27 range. So yeah, that would be wild though if you could like I don't even know, have a romance, like just bang your romance companion, leave, come back. Guess what? We have twins. And I would, yeah, that I would just get wrecked. Again, it's just mental breakdown for every single choice I'm gonna make in this game. It's
I
gonna be a lot.
yeah. I
You
suppose I
can
was going
choose
to
your
say
gender, though, can't you? I think I heard that. You
that's
can be male or a female.
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too sure. I know that the information's out there. I couldn't find it on the site. So
I believe there's a live stream. I'll try and find it, but it was where they.
okay.
Oh my god, that's weird. Sorry, I'm playing back the stream now. I'm hearing my own voice. Um,
I
okay,
hate it when that happens.
I'm gonna find. I'll find a link to where they released the gameplay trailer, which was, I believe, is the stream where they talk about it. They've not said specifics about customization. Oh, I found it already. They've not announced specifics about customization, but they have said you can choose the gender of
Okay.
June. So
Okay. Then it's anything's on the table really.
but I think there's like an implication. I mean, this is what Holton's saying, is that there's definitely character customization. I don't know for sure about that one. Can I post to everyone if I just post here? Does that work? Let's find out. Okay. I wonder if everyone can see that on YouTube.
Yes,
Yeah?
I can
Yeah, they should
check
be able to, yeah.
that.
It's a whole long stream, so I don't recommend watching it right now. But
Oh, it's the
it's like an
co-crunch
hour
one.
long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you seen that? I think I
I
just
haven't
took a
seen. No.
very small.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see it live or anything like that, but I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, there was like a small segment I took from it, and I was just like instantly, okay, so there is some element of that. So yeah, you can choose if June is male or female.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I think also the fact that it's not completely open world is is an exciting element of it as well. Is like the fact that like it's not going to be overwhelming, I feel, but it's also going to be a small enough contained world that you can see the differences in the world state. Like, did you guys see? And I feel like I should like if I feel like I need to post Carla's video, which I will do in the once the stream is like a video as well. But she did a video where she compared 3 different images of the same planet. There was like a city world that she talked about. I don't know if you guys saw that more recent video she did.
Oh,
City world.
I think it's her most recent one. It's
Yeah.
on the to watch, but I have not seen it.
There was like 3 different world states for this one city world, and one looked like a desert, one looked like a thriving city, and one looked like it was a bit more foresty. It looked like a bit more of like a hybrid, I suppose, or more of like a more greenery than city.
Okay.
And yeah, it instantly made me think about like, oh my god, like the possibilities must be exciting for this, and how the environment changes so much. But
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think yeah, I think the environment's changing. I'm wondering if maybe in terms of like how the gameplay is gonna go, because I mean, obviously the one developer said at the end of Act 1 you're gonna make like a huge choice, for who you're gonna leave behind and stuff. I'm wondering if it's gonna almost run like a Mass Effect 2, where there's very clear delineations of, Act 1, Act 2, where after Act 1 you can start um going to find Tally and Samara and that type of vibe. So it's almost like they've limited the like maybe your choice consequence where you see how you affect the cities, how you affect your friends and stuff like that are limited to um or the choices you make. Like it's almost like you have to catch in Mass Effect 2 like loyalty missions at a certain time. Otherwise, if you move on to the next act, you're screwed. And then maybe there's an overarching thing to the end where I would love if they had something like akin to a suicide mission, where it's just a final moment in the climax where you're just like, this is what I've decided to do this playthrough, and I have to deal with the consequences. Yeah, I definitely I think I'm gonna give that the gameplay chat a listen to, because I think that the juicy infos stuff that the devs would have accidentally revealed and stuff.
yeah, they're being annoyingly careful, but it's like you kind of gotta really fish for the things they slip on, don't you?
Oh yeah.
I was going to say something. I suppose what you were going to say is what you said as well about the timed missions is interesting, especially because when they promote time as being such an important factor as well in this game, it kind of feels like there's no way they could not implement it. But I suppose for me, the question is like, are they going to give you a warning about like how much time is going to pass if you go to X planet, or how much time is going to pass if you go to that planet? Like, is it going to warn you and say, hang on, you can't do this thing if you go to that planet because you're not going to get back in time? Like,
I wouldn't thought they would put it as bluntly as that. I think they'll probably give you the information for you to work it out yourself.
Which almost seems worse, because then you have to make a moral decision.
Yeah.
It's not going to tell you, hey, if you bam forward 18 years, then your
Traveling
friend
kid,
who has an
traveling
illness
kid
is
gonna
gonna
be-
die. Yeah. Like I'm just like, oh great. I definitely think more along those lines. You're gonna have to make the hard choice. They're gonna give you the info, and then you're just gonna go through with it. I feel like it's gonna be extremely important to keep multiple save files at all times. If you just hate the choice you made.
Save scum the whole game.
Yeah, the whole game. That's how I'm gonna do it.
yeah, I'd be quite scary as well if all the missions had like a months and years countdown by the side of them or something.
Oh
Like-
man. No, man. I really hope they don't do that, but I could see them. I could definitely see them doing that.
Yeah, but I imagine the
Yeah.
codex is going to be quite rich.
I wonder if you're actually going to see your protagonist age as well.
I mean,
Because
it
if
would
you're
depend if, well, assuming you're always in your perspective, you would technically experience time like just linearly, right? So it depends on if they want to have a time jump of like a 10-year.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
Unless you leave your perspective, right? Like we don't know.
Mhm.
Play as somebody else, like as a random
So yeah,
NPC
the
for a little
game
bit.
could, yeah, the game could technically take place over 1 week, which has been like
Yeah,
50 years for
yeah.
everybody else
Oh
and
man,
stuff,
yeah.
depending on
That-
where
I'll-
you're going and that.
Yeah, because I think that's also like I think it's why it's so important to like explore what dilation means through like the story trailer and through the Exodus episode of Secret Level is to show exactly how it works for all of us because this is like unmapped territory I think for like gaming. I feel like unless you guys can think of games that do something similar, I can't off the top of my head. Like
No clue. The only thing that kind of springs to mind, and this is like a really kind of random reference, is a Final Fantasy 13 2. They kind of had that kind of the exact same locations. So they would have like your home world, and then like you would bamf around. Like I think one of them was like Brescia Lake, and then you would see it super super frozen. You would see it with a bunch of people. You would see it kind of just like abandoned after the people have left. So like that is the only game I've seen do that, and obviously it's a hugely popular game. Um, but that's the kind of vibe I think it would have. If you guys want to check that one out. I love
Yeah.
the Final Fantasy 13
I
series. I know that it's not popular.
I'm very uncultured when it comes to Final Fantasy. I wouldn't know where to start. I mean there's so many of them.
Well, if you had
Um,
to start anywhere, I mean, Final Fantasy 7 is the place. I mean, obviously they're releasing the remakes and stuff like that. So that's where I would say if you want to jump into Final Fantasy.
okay.
Hi guys, Phil. I'd like to go on politics, and in this
Sorry.
video, I'd like to discuss
Oh.
one of the Trump lines.
Oh, what was that?
My phone's playing up. It keeps making random things happen. There we go. Try and put that on silent.
Oh, also just checking in the chat, Christopher said, I keep cutting in and out. Are you guys hearing that as well? Or
It
I'm
feels a
not.
little bit maybe like you're sort of closer and then far away at certain points. Not exactly cutting in and out.
okay, I'll try to keep my head directly in front of my mic.
But it doesn't make you impossible to hear. It's a little bit strange, I suppose.
Okay, no problem. And also, Christopher, yes, Final Fantasy 8 is highly underrated. I love that game.
I liked 8. Not many people did.
I mean, I'm
That's-
just here for the triple triad, to be honest. Like the best mini game of all time.
Are they all like following the same main character then? Or
Oh
like-
no.
They're all separate.
All
apart
different.
apart from like, was it 12 or something? 12 and 13. They kind of carry on from each other or something. But each one, apart from that, is
haven't played.
separate. It's like individual
12.
stories.
All I know is 13 had 3 games to it, and 10 had 2 games to it. So those are the only ones with sequels from what I've played anyway. I'm not sure if the other ones have. You got to get into it, Craig. Join the Final Fantasy chaos.
8 was
Oh.
the last one I played. I haven't played any of those.
There's so much. There's so much to play. I need to do my second Witcher playthrough at some point as well.
Yeah,
Man, I haven't even gotten into Witcher.
I've started a Witcher run.
And Cyberpunk as well. Cyberpunk second playthrough at some point.
Oh yes, I
See,
feel
I
like
haven't
in
finished that.
terms of the vibe, because I haven't played Cyberpunk, but I feel like Exodus could be similar to the vibes of Cyberpunk in terms of like the classism and stuff like that. Like that's totally going to be a thing that's addressed.
Yeah, there was one short video that I think was to do with like Celestials that had kind of gone off on their own or something. There was some kind of shady deal going on in one of the short videos on their channel. and it was like this sort of like shady underground deal that was going on, and it felt very cyberpunk. It felt a little bit underground. It makes me think
Mhm.
like Starfield, for example. There are going to be certain planets that have specific vibes about them. Like there's one, I can't even think of the name of the planet. I've just so long since I played Starfield. Tim, you might not, you might know. Um, there's like a planet where it feels a little bit old westy because of like the the um the group that owns it, the faction that owns it, and I think you might know the faction I'm referring to. But anyway, there's like certain vibes about certain planets that are a little bit different, and
Yeah,
I hope,
I haven't played Starfield, so I'm not sure.
but I hope that it will take from like the best of games like Starfield, but I think it will learn from certain lessons. I feel like Starfield suffered from that kind of bloated open worldness, which I think Exodus is going to learn from, because it's not an open world situation. It's like you can go to planets, but there are specific within reason, your specific areas within each planet you can go to.
Yeah,
And
I'm wondering if almost in terms of mission structure and stuff, I'm sure there's going to be like some type of branching, like you're starting at point A, branches off to B and C, and maybe even branch off from there. But I'm sure it'll eventually all head to, okay, you have to go to planet J. You know,
mm,
because yeah, just thinking about the possibilities, there's absolutely no way they could fit that all in. I mean, I would love to see them try, but
mm,
yeah, I'm really glad in terms of this style of thing that it's not open world. I also think they had to make that decision.
mm,
Because for something of this magnitude, trying to keep track of all those different world states, um, they would eventually have to say like, no, you messed up. Everybody like you went to too many planets, and then everybody's dead back home and all that. So yeah, and I am curious because obviously with Dragon Age, like that's kind of where mine's at because I've been just going through all the games. They went from open world in Inquisition to a more structured, obviously like a Mass Effect 2 vibe of you can go here and here and here, and that's kind of your available missions. I wonder if in general, this next set of games that we're going to get on the slate kind of are moving towards that more structured, less open world vibe. Um, yeah, but I guess I wanted to ask you guys, especially, do you think that in like a choice RPG thing, like in the genre, that open world is kind of detrimental to that? Like they'll the choice RPG genre will move toward a more structured, I guess, somewhat linear like missions are.
um, I mean, I don't think I've played enough like open world RPGs to say for sure that it doesn't work as a concept. I mean, we've seen like there are RPGs I've played that are open world that I've still enjoyed. Um, I mean, Tim, how was Outlaws in terms of that? Because I think there were some choices in Outlaws, aren't there? Star Wars Outlaws. Like, did you find that had like that? Did they have choices? I feel like they must have, right? I think they.
Not really. Um, not in like your RPG sense. You could determine, you kind of had like a set mission, and then at the end of the mission, you would get like a load of loot, and you could give it to one of three factions, and then that would
Okay.
raise or lower your standing with that faction.
Oh, so it
And
wasn't
then
exactly a RPG
not,
then.
yeah, not in that sense. It was more of a linear story. But depending on your reputation with the faction, that opened up more missions or cut you off from missions. So, and if you wanted to get that mission and you didn't have that reputation, you'd go and do a load of side missions for like other side missions, and then just give all your loot to them to raise your reputation with them to unlock it. So
I
Yeah, I wonder
suppose
if
speaking of, sorry.
no, I just wanted a quick thought about what Exodus could potentially do is maybe it's one of those things where, like Tim said, like, what if you go out and get a water purifier? And what if you can only like give that water purifier to certain people on your planet, and then the other people just die out. Like that could be a way to just cut out on that. Like, look, this is the choice you made, and then
I'm,
you'd have to see like on a different playthrough if you give the purifier to somebody a different faction, what happens?
I mean, there's like an interesting line between what makes an open world open world. I don't know to what degree it has to be big to be open world, but I don't know if either of you played the Fable games. But I remember playing like there's I'm not sure if I should spoil it then. There's a certain circumstance where like the world state changed. I mean, it's not exactly
It's okay. You could probably. I'll
Okay.
probably forget. It's okay.
Okay. I wasn't. Let's just say I wasn't prepared. I didn't understand the choices I was making, and basically in the third game there was like next to no civilians in the sort of the towns and everything, because they all got massacred during an impending invasion, and I feel like I don't know if that's necessarily an open world, but I see it as being that kind of situation where a world is open enough that you can explore around and you can see all of these different things that are slightly different. And I remembered it took me too long to figure out what had actually happened to them. But I imagine that kind of scenario, but on a larger scale. Like if you got to revisit Earth, in Mass Effect 3, for example, after the Reaper invasion, and see a scorched planet, like I can imagine a celestial invasion happening while you're gone, for example, and you come back and see carnage. I mean, maybe that makes me sound a bit evil, having kind of wanting to see that. But
I kind of get the impression that side missions are going to play a big part in it. So, for example, you're going to have a linear path of the main story that is going to take you through so many jumps, and it's going to take you so many years to do it. But then you're going to have optional side missions where you could go to different jumps, and then that's going to add on time, determining then your ending state of your world, sort of thing. So if you just stuck to the main story, you might be able to do it in, say, like 10 years or something, and get back and your world is absolutely spot on or something like that, but you missed out a load of content. And then if you wanted to, you can then go and try the other content, and then you come back and your world's coming, you've been away too long and it's completely destroyed, sort of thing. So
I imagine it's going to be
know.
I'm sorry.
It's
Okay.
No, all good. I think it's gonna be a lot. I think because of the marketing really hammering home the tragedy of the time dilation aspects to it, I feel like they're trying to prepare us. And they're trying to be like, look, Vargas, lost his partner in the show. You're immediately seeing a really tragic story about just a father trying to get back to his daughter. Like that's at the heart of it. That's what it is. And he just, it doesn't end in complete heartbreak, but she passes before him. I think that there's gonna be that underlying element of, I don't want to say like tragedy, but heavy consequences for what seems like a simple decision.
It was interesting because it was tragedy, but it also wasn't it? Because I mean, to a degree, the father spent a fair amount of time looking for his daughter, but the daughter still lived a full enough life. She still lived like 50, 60 years of adventure.
So maybe the choices will be kind of like that, right? Where it's not necessarily every single, like it's either going to be they live a happy life or they die. I feel like there could be that they live this certain type of life, or they live this type of pathway versus that one. I hope it's more like that. And judging from the content I've seen, I think it's going to be very nuanced with that. So yeah, I really want to get my hands on this. Like I feel like this is just going to be such a unique thing, and we're probably going to get it at the end of this year, probably.
Oh, I really hope so. Sorry, there was a comment from N7 Kate you had up earlier, wasn't there, Tim?
Yeah, it was. Thinking open world games by their nature can be detrimental to storytelling, as they have to allow for the gamer to tackle any area mission in any order.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I'm wondering, like, will it be like I think similar to a Mass Effect 2, it'll all lead to an eventual like, okay, you have to do Horizon now, like where we get interrupted with
Hmm.
whatever we're doing, and Joker's like, hey, we're doing the mission now, and you don't have a choice. Um,
Hmm.
I'm wondering if they have that kind of mechanic built in.
Possibly, yeah.
I think it's also like I mean I know it's different to Mass Effect, but I think it's hard to ignore the similarities to Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, aside from the fact obviously
Yes.
Andromeda is more open world, like there are similarities there in the fact that you're uncovering secrets or lost like secrets or things that humanity doesn't know about the Celestials. All of this sort of like history that humanity has missed out on because of the huge time difference between their civilizations. They said about like uncovering all of these secrets, and you see in the story trailer they found this old technology that was to save this little colony or this I don't know what you call it, like this conglomeration or something at the end of the story trailer.
Yeah.
They're memorializing this Vargas's partner. I'm not even sure. Does she have a name? Do we know her name?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
But I forgot what my point was there. I mean, I guess we get to see exactly what like all of this technology has all of this technology has a benefit for us, and we're kind of, I feel, uncovering secrets like we are with the Remnant, for example, in Mass Effect Andromeda, where we're learning about a history of another race, which again I suppose feels like the Protheans as well.
For sure. Oh no. Yeah, when I first looked at the Exodus stuff, I was really excited to learn that being a traveler, one of the main points of our jobs, our roles, I guess, is to uncover, those uh lost civilizations and all that just due to time. Definitely got the Prothean vibes. Definitely got I think in terms of like you bringing up Andromeda, it almost feels like, it plays up more of the aspects that I really enjoyed in Andromeda. Like, I really loved the vault stuff. I really loved learning about, oh man, I'm blanking on their name right now. The alien, hidden aliens in Andromeda.
Oh,
Absolutely blanking on them right
Angara.
now. No, no,
oh,
not the Angara, the
oh.
people that made them.
Oh,
Jardan? Is it Jardan?
Yes, the Jordan. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It kind of gives me those vibes of I want to know when I was playing Andromeda, like I really, really wanted to know more about the Jordan. And I feel like Exodus is diving headfirst into that, and because their lore is just so rich, like I'm so curious to see what Drew Karpyshyn did with all of just his little sandbox of
Oh,
lore that he's created. But
it's
yeah,
so many great minds behind this as well. So many creative
yeah,
writers. Um,
it's just gonna be good.
yeah,
Really, really
and
good.
what you said about the vaults as well. I loved the mechanic of resetting a planet and then like running away from like this killer mist as you're like trying
Yeah.
to. If that part of it felt engaging, but then also seeing differences in the world. I think it would have been nice to see it on a larger scale in Andromeda, though. And I think having, like we said, like a smaller sandbox, I suppose,
Exactly, yeah.
you have an opportunity to see bigger differences because the devs aren't focused on trying to cover a larger map in terms of world difference.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna very much be centered on, like, what did you do to your home world of Leiden? Like,
Mm,
I'm sure there'll be you'll hear about, "Oh, you went over there, and 10 years later, now it's either thriving or dying, depending on your choices." But I really do think that Leiden's gonna be your little home hub that you just see how that changes. Like, I guess akin to a Nexus if we're making an Andromeda comparison. Because I did enjoy in Andromeda also, like, uh, going off world, completing a few missions, coming back to the Nexus and directly seeing like, oh hey, the Nexus is more there's more people out and about. They've popped more people out of cryo. There's less, carnage and more things are kind of looking all nice and pretty. So yeah, I'm sure we're gonna see that with Leiden especially.
yeah, it was interesting. Interesting what Christopher said as well about Skyrim. Have either of you played Skyrim?
I have not.
I've started about 4 or 5 times and never finished it. I always get distracted.
To be fair, Tim, who plays the main story in Skyrim? Skyrim is very much about
Oh.
like the side content and the world, I think.
I get about 20 hours in each time, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to build a house."
I always get sidetracked by like the vampire storyline, or like I don't know, like choosing a side in like the war between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. But he's right. Like there are certain choices you can make in like determining who rules, I suppose. Like because there's the two opposing factions, and you just decide which army to side with, and that determines who rules, really. But I don't know if I necessarily felt like I saw enough of a difference when I sided with one of them. Because I think I did both. I don't really remember. But
I guess in,
I mean-
in terms of like, sorry, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
no, I don't really know what I was going to say. Please.
Well, I just wanted to just jump off of that. I haven't played Skyrim, but I guess just in terms of the choice RPGs you guys have played, what do you guys use to determine like how impactful a choice you made was? You know, like is it just enough to if you had to choose between two characters living or dying? Like I guess let's take like a Caden and Ashley situation. How much impact do you need to see from a choice in order for it to be worthwhile? Any choice. It doesn't have to just be between two characters or something, but you know, just in general.
For me, that choice is more about the later game. Yeah, I feel it. I didn't feel its impact at the start. It was like, okay, it's just one of those things. But by the time you get to the end of Mass Effect 3, and you know it's the final push, I walked onto the Citadel with Ash and Caden, and it would have been just so nice to be able to do that final mission as them as my companions, because you kind of bookend it, start and finish it. But
Yeah.
I think that's when I felt the impact of that choice, like 2 games ago. But at the time, it was like, just one of those things, isn't it?
I suppose the best thing about that situation as well is they both have, because they're both different people, obviously. Like they both have different dialogue. They both have different, they have different backstories. They have different family. With Ashley, it's very much about her family reputation and trying to restore that. And with Caden, sorry, I really don't like Caden. It's
my
very
Canadian
much,
king.
well, that's the thing. I feel like he's Canadian is his only character trait.
Unfortunately, you might not be wrong, but
but they do have their own traits, was what I was kind of driving my point towards. And the unique dialogue is to me what makes it feel like there's a choice there and there's an impact.
right.
I mean, just scattering, like say Celestials have wiped out this local militia. Like seeing Celestials, holding like people hostage, not holding people hostage, but holding them prisoner, and you see like, I don't know, some really horrible things that the Celestials are doing to all of these people because they now occupy the planet. Maybe that's asking too much. I mean, I wouldn't say like, oh, we have to see like to that scale, but also at the same time,
Right.
it feels like that's what they're pushing towards, like saying what kind of differences.
Yeah. I'm also just so curious because, like Tim mentioned, feeling that kind of consequence resonate games down the line. Could Exodus even do something like that? Because
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, how does one even do a sequel? Because your end state is going to be so vastly different. I feel like they would have to have like time jumps of just being like, hey, it's been like 1,000, 2,000 years. You're gonna play, this completely new person, or like, I'd be fascinated if they wanted to. What if we play it as June again in like a sequel? That would be fascinating. But yeah, I feel like in terms of the feeling the consequences of your choices, I feel like there's a level of the way they dealt with it in like Mass Effect 3, where like one of the first missions you ever do is for this one man on the Citadel where he's just trying to get his wife's body back. I'm blanking on his name. But
Oh
it's like the
yeah.
first mission you do.
Uh,
And in Mass Effect,
Bitel or something, wasn't it?
Batia,
Batia, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And then in Mass Effect 3, like the consequence, I guess, of doing that mission or not was just like an email.
Mm.
To me, that kind of felt, like it kind of just made me feel like, oh, hey, maybe another player that didn't do that, or if I didn't make that choice, I wouldn't have gotten that email. That kind of hit.
Yeah.
But then again, like choosing between Caden and Ashley and seeing like one of them not being there, seeing Shepard like being super hung up about like having nightmares about, the other person that wasn't there. I feel like that that type of level might be isolated to just one Exodus game, but I would be so curious if they do something where that type of a choice goes into a sequel.
Mm.
Obviously, like the game isn't even out yet, so like we don't necessarily have to, like, go to that
So
extent.
out, yeah, talking about the sequel.
I'm here for it, man. Like I just want to know, like, how are they gonna thinking long term about this? Like, hopefully, franchise series. How are they gonna deal with long term choice and consequence? Is gonna be absolutely fascinating.
And they've really
It
pushed
might
for that.
be. It might be a case of this just being a one-time game. I know they're probably wanting to build a franchise off it, but like you say, games get so bloated with choices and that, and the
Mhm.
fallout from Veilguard because they limited it to 3 choices. When you've got a game mechanic that involves time dilation, and every person's experience of that's going to be different, who you leave behind, what your world state's going to end up in. So yeah, to then to expand it to sequels and stuff, it could get really messy.
It's I mean, that's true.
I wonder if maybe they would take kind of the Dragon Age route of in Origins you had so many choices. Like you could basically choose everything, it felt like. And then maybe like obviously to Dragon Age 2 completely removed world state. Like basically nothing came with you. Like I wonder if they do something like that.
Mm.
And then they might bamf back in like a third game. Like I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. I would love to see the devs kind of talk about that aspect. Obviously, I think they want to see like is the launch going to be successful and all that before jumping into stuff like sequels.
It's
I'd
clear they've
love
got
to see how they handle it though, because I feel like that would naturally impact how Mass Effect would handle it as well. Just because like if Exodus is doing like crazy choices with such like time dilation stuff, and they managed to pull off a really nice oh hey, a choice that I made in Exodus 1 popped up in Exodus 2. I feel like people are going to expect that from Mass Effect, right? So
Mm.
it's going to be fascinating to see.
I think like the must have a lot of confidence in it. It's not out until next year that they're looking at?
They haven't
2026.
they haven't really said anything,
No
but I think
date.
people are making predictions based on how much they're showing, though. The fact that the promotion is ramping up. It's either got to
Yeah.
be this year or next year, surely.
Because again, I don't want to hate on Veilguard, but we didn't see any gameplay footage until what, about a month before release,
Months. Yeah.
and we've already seen gameplay footage of Exodus. So again, that shows to me that they have got confidence in this product, and they know exactly what they're doing with it and where it's going with it. And
It definitely feels like they're confident, for sure. Like, which is why I'm wondering, like, because obviously they're funded by Wizards of the Coast, right? Like they basically just got handed all the money they needed for the project.
Yeah.
I feel like, like just having those types of funds available to them, I'm sure they were thinking long term and how they were going to go with other projects. So yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be before the end of the year though. Just yeah, based on all that stuff. Also based on they have this one promotion for like a Traveler's Cloak exclusive or something like that. And that ends like you can refer if you refer 2 friends to like Exodus, you give them like your email link or whatever, and they click it and become founding members. That ends in August of this year, I think. And I feel like they wouldn't like close that off and then have it launched like 6 months later. I think if I had to guess, it would be winter of 2025.
I really hope it does well, because I think they're really like they're really throwing everything. I think in terms of I don't know about everything in terms of marketing. I suppose the one thing they could do is, and I'm sure they wouldn't do it, is what Baldur's Gate 3 did like an early access type thing. I feel like this game's too big to do something like that. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't big until its proper release. I mean, if you guys think otherwise, please let me know. I feel like everyone was truly talking about Baldur's Gate when it came out, even though there was chatter about it in the early access days as well. And I don't know. I think I really want Exodus to do well. I just wouldn't want it to like just I don't know. I feel like it's easy to not trust modern marketing. And I wonder if like something like early access maybe is the only way now to get people to trust a game, because of how a lot of companies try to just push a game out for a certain window, you know.
Yeah. I know that something that I think was really smart by the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth team is they gave the entire first chapter of the game, and I think there were maybe 10 or 12 chapters. And they gave the entire first chapter for free. Like you didn't even need to purchase the game. I would love to see something like that adopted by more franchises in general, just so people can get like a small little taste and then get hooked, and then or say no, not for me, and so they at least you don't have to like buy it and potentially like refund it within the first like 3 hours of gameplay. Yeah, I am curious on this style of thing to see what they would kind of do, because I think there was chatter about the Veilguard potentially releasing the character customization in a free demo thing, and I'm not sure that happened.
I think they did.
Or is that a thing?
I'm pretty sure that's.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can do that on. I know you can do that on the EA app, and I think you can do that on the
EA.
console stores as well. I
Okay.
think. Yeah, and I think they do a trial as well for the game if you have one of their premium
Yeah, EA
memberships.
Play or something.
Yeah, like I think you have to. If you have the basic plan, I think you have a trial, and if you have the upper tier, you have the whole game.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hopefully Exodus does a similar, like let me see the character creator, let me play the first mission, or the up until the first choice and consequence. That'll be fun.
Do you guys think they'll do a early access type thing? Not like an early access, not to the extent of Baldur's Gate 3 where you can play it as they're developing it, but do you think they'll do like a play it early if you buy X package sort of thing? Do you think they'll do that kind of thing?
No, I don't think so. I should imagine the big content creators will get to go to preview events and stuff.
Well, which is fine, because I
Yeah.
think you need to hear from certain content creators to get a sense, because I think people have their own content creators that they follow and they want to hear what they think, don't they, to make an informed decision.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do something along the lines of like most games do, like invite the bigger content creators. Yeah, definitely not to Baldur's Gate 3 extent. And I feel like they're moving away from, well, although just thinking about it, I think that maybe Rebirth did have, and if you purchased the deluxe edition, you got to play it 2 days early. I feel like that type of thing is rubbing like players the wrong way now, though. Like paying that extra, and it kind of falls into that like icky territory of like microtransactions. So I am curious, like what route Archetype Entertainment's going to go, because we haven't seen them release anything, right?
No.
If I had to guess,
I
I would say no. Just the main content creators would get early access.
Yeah, I hope so. Sorry, you're going to say something, Tim, I think.
No, I mean, let's say I don't know what I was going to say.
So I saw your mouth open. Thought, is he going to say something? You all right?
But yeah, I mean, like I say, for there was one thing that I was going to pick up on, but I can't remember what it was.
To be fair, I've had a few thoughts like that where I was thinking, oh, I need to hold on to this. This could be an interesting point. And I was like, oh, it's gone.
Sometimes I just keep like a notepad next to me where I just write down a couple things.
See,
Because otherwise
the
the
way to
thought is
go.
gone.
Yeah.
Just
It's like
flies
having the
away.
notes before it is usually the go-to, but writing notes during it so you don't forget things you want to come back to as well. That's good.
Just
That's
like
good
a
bit of
small
advice.
little thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to know, I think, if that whole model, because I know Ubisoft, for example, are hugely guilty of it, like offering early access to people who get certain editions of the game. I'd be interested to know if that's become less successful over recent years, because I know that, or I feel like, if you look at PlayStation and Xbox, for example, I know it's different when it comes to consoles, I suppose, but I feel like the economy has changed, like in terms of like consumers, and I feel like they're addressing that by making exclusives less common. And I feel like it'd be interesting to know if less and less people are buying deluxe editions of games. Is what I'm trying to say, because
Yeah.
less and less people can afford to. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I think it's turning into, like it's not necessarily, there will always be people that love certain franchises and will buy it as whatever the highest thing is because they love that. But yeah, I feel like in general, like just the general average player, I feel like it rubs them the wrong way potentially. Um, but yeah, that's just based on, what I've noticed in terms of it feels like that slight early access falls kind of into the region of microtransactions where it's like the game's going to come out anyway, like you're promoting this certain release date. Why do some people get it kind of earlier? By paying like $30 extra or 40, like that's like almost 40% of the of the game itself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Just my thoughts on it though.
Also, I'm not sure if you're gone yet, Kate, but bye. Sorry, sorry I didn't say
Oh,
hi when
shoot,
you
Kate left.
arrived.
Bye, Kate.
But should we talk about what she's posted earlier in case she watches the playback? Because I think she had an interesting point about she said she was curious about the choices and consequences. Talking about generational changes and consequences. I think there may be consequences that are hard to predict. Or that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like when you can go so far into the future, you can't account for everything, surely.
I feel like in a choice RPG though, players would expect that, like going back to the combo we had on how much of a consequence do you need to see for your choice to make it worthwhile? I feel like at least in like I haven't played all of the choice RPGs out there, but it feels like when you make a choice in a video game setting, you do eventually expect to see something, even if it's just an email about a random NPC that you helped, up to, seeing Caden or an Ashley join you as a companion, to that extent. So yeah, I think Kate's point is interesting in terms of with Exodus, like generational impact. I guess going back to the secret level episode, Nick came back, and instead of seeing his friend, it was the granddaughter of his friend. Like I feel like that could be a very easy way to just be like, here's your consequence. Like your friend continued living life without you, and here's almost like the younger version of them, or just the granddaughter, the great granddaughter or grandson. Like I feel like that's going to be the way they make you feel that. And it's gonna hurt, like sometimes it's gonna hurt. Sometimes it's gonna be like, oh wow, like I remember talking to that friend and them saying they wanted to start a family. So I think there's gonna be that kind of level of generational impact.
I mean, I would love to see an element of, either you can interact in if that kind of situation were to come up, just talking to like the grandchild of whoever it was and hearing a little bit about that person's life that you missed out on. It doesn't even have to be through conversation to me. It could even just be through letters that they wrote to you that you never got to see. Like
Yeah.
I feel like going back to your question, I suppose, Paragon. I'm not sure if I should call you Atharia or Paragon. I do
Either or, all
alternate
good, all good.
sometimes. Like I think it depends on how it's advertised as a choice as well, a little bit. If it's advertised as like a choice that you might not ever hear back from again, like with the Bhatia situation, I don't think anyone like did that favor for him in terms of recovering the body, thinking they were ever going to hear anything about that after doing that. But it would be very strange if they made this big deal out of, oh, are you going to choose Caden or Ashley, and then essentially do what they did in 2 and sort of have them just appear briefly, and then just have them maybe not appear in 3 at all, or have them appear very briefly in 3. I think that's where the line is. I feel like if they make it out to be a big deal and then it doesn't end up being a big deal.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I think
The magnitude of the choice needs to match the magnitude of the consequence.
I think with time dilation being their USP, I think if they did do any sequels, all they'd really have to do is ask you, the players, like, how did your world state end? So was it a technical wonderland? Was it a barren desert or something like that? And then just set the next game 100 years in the future. And then you've got your starting world from the previous game, but you don't have to then bring in a load of choices of previous things that people might have said or done or stuff like that. The little things that kind of add up to make the game feel bloated.
Because
they have said,
sorry,
as I say, they have said that the Celestials have kind of formed off into different races or groups or something, so they're not all evolved equally. We're only looking at one group of them, which is the Headbangers or something. Was it head crowns or something? I can't remember what she said.
Oh yeah, I think it was the Crown.
That's the one. Yeah. So that's only one group that we're kind of looking at in this game. So the chances are, if we are looking at sequels, they're going to be looking at a different group.
Yeah.
But
that's the easiest way to do it, right? Like,
yeah, you kind of, the only thing you need to do, if that's going to be the main hub world for everything, you just need to know how it was left in the last game and set it 100 years from now, and nothing else really matters, does it?
But also,
yeah,
I mean, that's why. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I think that's also why the time difference as well, like the time dilation element, or the massive time jumps when you travel to planets, is actually a benefit, because character fates doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things in that situation, because X character that you helped and saved and whatever, they could have lived a full life, and you just never see them again in that second game, because you went off for a week to the other planet, in the sequel. And
yeah,
it's been 85 years.
Yeah.
So I think in a way it could work to benefit as well.
Yeah. Well, and then also just going off of that though, like I feel like the most like from game to game, the choices you really, really care about are those closest to you, right? Like with your companions and stuff like that. And I feel like just that has to be addressed. Like you could kind of ignore, what happened to random NPCs on X planet versus Y planet. And as long as you just make sure you answer the questions of what happened to the people that I spent the most time with, that's all players would really care about. That's what I would care about anyway. Like I'm not too, like with the Bhatia thing, like I would have been completely okay with that just being the end and just gaining the Paragon or Renegade points depending on what you chose, and it being isolated to that game. But like it's the characters and companions that are closest to you that, a lot of people make fan theories of, and that's all the artwork and all that stuff. So I feel like as long as they handle that's all they need to really do. Wrap up those threads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's one, it carries through all three games, I think. It's where you decide the fate of a baby, and then, they're going to get this
Yeah.
genetic sort of thing. They wouldn't need to do all that sort of stuff, because that, with Mass Effect, it's very short. It takes place over a very short period of time, comparing that to like Exodus, which you could go between 10, 15, 100 years between meeting people. So you're not going to have all these little individual stories that you need to keep track of, because it will be just a case of, oh yeah, they died 50 years ago.
Yeah, I'm so curious too. Like, how are they going to deal with us not feeling like apathy toward all the NPCs around us?
I think
Because
that's the plan. I think that's what they want you to do. They want to.
almost, yeah. Because in the marketing, it in the episode for Secret Level, it felt like Nick came back to Leiden and he was like, "Here you go. Here's this awesome thing," and the granddaughter's like, "Whoa! Like, do you even know what this means?" And Nick just hopped in his. Like he basically became a traveler, right? He hopped in a ship and he was like, okay, bye. Like I feel like it's gonna almost have this this element of travelers just like, obviously I think June's father was also a traveler, and he's almost considered godlike whenever he returns, from what I
Well,
read on
they,
the website. What
I
if that
suppose they
happens
have
with
to
us?
be.
Like what if we're aloof, right? No, for
Yeah.
sure, Craig, because like you have to be, because you're just like, everyone around me is just, I don't know who they are, right? So I'm so curious the apathy level and how much we're going to care about the NPCs we're leaving behind, how that's going to play out, because I feel like that's going to be unique to the franchise that we haven't seen anywhere else, I don't think.
Because I mean, from that outsider perspective as well, the people that you're leaving behind, a traveler, you're probably going to see that one person once in your lifetime, if you see any travelers at all, and you are going to see them as godlike, because it's a scary idea going out there and like being afraid to form any kind of bonds with people in case you have to eventually leave them to fulfill other duties.
Yeah. It's there's a tragedy to it. There's definitely I think there's like a heroic tragedy to the travelers, and maybe in sequels, like maybe we don't play a traveler. I mean, it would be very interesting to see, like, what if we're just a generic person on one planet, and they kind of make the scale a little bit smaller. Yeah, the possibilities are endless for all the stories they could tell.
And I think to a degree you could be building your own codex because of the amount of history that you're building for other planets as you make your own impact on them. You're kind of
Exactly.
you're defining the lore of each of these planets.
Which would just be absolutely wild, because I feel like it's definitely going to be one of those games where you're going to finish the game, you're going to call your friend and be like, wow, did you get like this ending where like this happened? And they're like, what? No. Like I'm hoping it's not going to feel kind of like a Mass Effect 3-esque thing where it's like, hey, did you get the red ending, the blue ending, or the green? I feel like this is going to end with one of those like two complete, like multiple world states
Yeah.
that are far apart
Yeah.
just because of time dilation.
I suppose when I feel like when you can have so many different like varying circumstances on all these different planets, like as it is, it yeah, no Instagram filter endings, please, Chris. Yeah. I feel like they've got to up the ante when it comes to the story ending, because the story's got to feel more consequential than the rest of the game.
Oh, definitely. I'm hoping it's going to be vastly different. Like, I think it could easily be one of those games where you almost need to replay it. Like quite a few players, one playthrough and done. Like just the average player who's not like fully invested into a series. It
Hmm.
feels like you're gonna finish the game and be like, I need to know what would have happened if I didn't, make a single choice on one planet that, ended up affecting the entirety of Leiden. Um, yeah, I feel like they've baked replayability into it as like necessity.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine gathering a resource like celestial tech, bringing it to this colony, thinking, "Oh my God, I've brought new life to it," and then you come back to it, and it turns out that power's corrupted the entire planet, and like
Yeah.
they've kind of, formed some kind of empire, if you like, because of this object, and
It'd just be
uh,
brutal.
that's the kind of unforeseen consequences I'd be interested to see. um,
I also
Do you
hope though that like oh sorry,
do
go
you
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think like touching on like what you were just saying there, Craig, and what we said earlier, um, do you think that they should restrict save scumming? So, like for example, that you've made that choice of creating a farm or something like that to make sure that your peoples can live for the next year, but it turns out this farm then turns into a mega corporation and then dominate the planet or something or other, and enslave half of the population to working in their factory or something. Do you
I
think that they should, you every time you save, it only overwrites your previous save, so that you have to play the game with the choices that you've made?
I hope they don't restrict it. But with that being said, usually on first playthroughs with like, heavy choice action RPGs or just choice RPGs in general, I don't go back and reload. Um, unless it like really affects like a companion directly. I feel like I'm the type of player where I couldn't care less if like a bunch of NPCs die on like a random planet. But if it affects those like the people that are going to be with me the whole game, I might go back and reload. So in one sense, I hope they don't restrict it um in that way, and then each player can kind of make their own decision on, how much of this do I care about it? Because yeah, I think it could be fun if they're just like, "Nope, you don't get to save." Like, you're gonna have to decide if you only have, like, 2 saves or something ridiculous, to overwrite something else another decision that you made, but, I think they're gonna lean more towards "We know that we're gonna make you guys have mental breakdowns every single time you make a decision, so here you go. Here's, like, hopefully 50 saves."
hmm.
I only ask because I've got on the Kingdom Come Deliverance hype train at the minute, and I've never played the first game, so I've started a playthrough of that. And the way that they do their saves is awful. So I put a mod on it, but officially the mod is that if you want to save, you have to save and quit. So you'd save when you quit out the
Oh.
game, or you could save when you go into a bed and sleep, or you could brew like a drink, an alcoholic drink, which saves your snaps or something, and then you could drink that, and then you can save. And that's the only time that you can do it. So if you don't have this alcoholic drink, then you couldn't save just before you went into a fight or a decision or something like that.
Gotcha.
So you have to roll with what you choose and stuff.
Yeah. I think
Um,
it's fun. It's funner rolling with your decisions, but I think that it can also ruin a playthrough if you're just constantly hung up on this one huge thing that you made and you're just constantly seeing that consequence of, like maybe every time you come back to Leiden, you have to walk by the mega corporation's building and you're just like, oh, I shouldn't have started that farm. So yeah.
I think maybe like for a first playthrough, they limit your save slots or something.
That would be interesting, yeah.
And then
If
you
they
can do a
kind of
new game plus, and you can have as many saves as you want, or something like that.
yeah.
But so the
Wow.
first time you ever play it, you're stuck with the decisions you make, and then afterwards you can unlock more save spaces, so you can try different things out.
Yeah. No, that would be wild. That would definitely be wild.
Sorry, guys. I was just doing a bit of a blood test in the middle of a live stream. Sorry.
All good.
um, but yeah, it's Sorry, you're gonna catch me up for a minute there. Sorry, what were you?
Yeah, I
guys
was
saying?
just saying, what's your take on save scumming, and do you think a game like Exodus should force you into rolling with your choices on the first playthrough rather than letting you just roll back every, or even like should you like Witcher, where you make a choice but you won't see the outcome of it until like 3 or 4 hours later, so you've got no choice. You know, if you want to roll back and think, oh, I should have done that the other way, you're going to lose about 3 or 4 hours worth of gameplay.
I think there's a fine line, really, because I feel like you're gonna hate me for making this like little comparison. And to be fair, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I should have seen this as a bigger choice than it was. However, right. So I don't know if I should. I'm spoiling it for Atharia if I tell this story though.
Is this another Fable thing, or?
This is a Witcher thing.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say I made a seemingly small choice which had a larger impact. I will say that.
Okay.
And that's
Have
why
you not
it
played
kind
The
of
Witcher?
crashed.
I haven't.
You need to play The Witcher.
It's
good.
near the top. It's near the top of my backlog for sure.
But I think when it comes to things especially like that, I think save scumming should be possible, because I feel like CD Projekt decided to be really mean in that scenario, right, and make it seem like it was a small thing, and then it ended up being a very big thing. I even told this story in a previous, it was either a podcast or a video discussion with you, Tim. You might know the instance I'm referring to, but it's okay if you don't. It was just a really small thing which impacted the overall ending because of what a certain character thought of me.
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember
that's
it.
wild.
You know what I'm talking about now, don't you? Yeah. When it came to something like that, I feel like save scumming should definitely be a thing. Because sorry, CD Projekt was doing me wrong for that. And when it came to the ending of Mass Effect 3, I feel that there's two different endings, right, that would change my opinion about it. If I had the ending that was refusal, right, I'd say I accidentally shoot the Star Child. I'm sorry, I'm save scumming, because that's just I don't believe people truly want that ending, like in any scenario whatsoever. Like, I feel like they would feel cheated if they'd accidentally like just shot the Star Child.
Just accidentally, yeah.
How
People
can you
do that.
accidentally shoot somebody? Like,
Well,
my gun just went off.
I accidentally hit the trigger on my like controller all the time, so that was
Yeah.
that.
And some people, just because they're live streaming, think I'm just going to shoot the child because I'm mad at the fact that I've got these choices. They have no idea that it's actually going to cause a specific ending where the child.
It would
gets
also be
associated.
hilarious though. Like it would just be, oh, haha, you didn't think that this was gonna cause something. It'd be a little like snide gotcha from the
Yeah.
devs to the players. I think there's gonna be save scumming. Like I think they would have to have a very early patch if if there wasn't like a lot of save slots, because yeah, I'm gonna be regretting a lot of things companion wise, but yeah, I can't believe you made like a small decision that came back to haunt you in the ending. That's so wild.
It was so
That's
crazy.
one of the reasons why you need to play Witcher, because you there's certain ones you can save scum and you think, oh well, you see the impact of it straight away, but there are many choices that you make in The Witcher that you don't see the payoff until 2-3 hours later.
Admittedly, there was a side mission that they did kind of push on me was important, and I thought I was supposed to play it later on in the game. Turns out it was very, very important to the ending as well.
Oh no.
So I think I got the worst ending of Witcher 3, actually. That's why another reason why I want to play it again.
So you got the worst ending in Mass Effect 3 and in The Witcher. Witcher 3?
I didn't get the refusal ending in Mass Effect 3 though. You know, it could be worse.
Yeah, but everybody blew up though in your thing, right? I feel like that's worse.
but we won.
Did you though? At what cost? At what cost though?
Yeah, it's like that Thanos meme, isn't it? Like, what did it cost? Everything.
Yep. Everything. I love it.
But
Right, I'm just glancing at the clock here, guys. It is approaching my lunchtime.
okay.
Yes, we've had you for quite a while. So
No, all good. I know that it's like really late there for you guys, so you probably like you guys are just chilling. But
just before you go, I do need to know how you're getting on with Dragon Age.
absolutely. So I am done my Inquisition playthrough, and I'm on the Veilguard right now. And when I started Act 1, it was incredibly slow. Like really, really slow. But I think I'm about 18-ish hours, like 18 to 20 hours in, and I'm fully engaged now.
Oh, that's good.
I think I was really confused because I guess just avoiding spoilers, but I thought that the ending of Inquisition was going to be a lot more of the forefront for the beginning of the Veilguard, but it
Mm.
wasn't. So I kind of lost a little bit of interest. But now that I'm fully like invested in my companions and stuff like that, I'm a lot more engaged with the content.
Yeah, I kind of want more Solus. I mean, I know I've still got more to play, but I've heard that was a
I'm
critique, is that people
surprised.
wanted more Solus.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the lack. You know, like it feels like one of those games where it's both trying to be its own thing as well as a sequel, and I feel like that's
Mm.
why the beginning was so confusing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do what they've done with all the previous Dragon Age games, when the problem is Veilguard is so closely tied to Trespasser.
Exactly. Yeah. All the other ones weren't a sequel, but this one is so clearly like your fan base is expecting a sequel, but they wanted to do something brand new, is what it feels like. So as soon as I was able to let go of the like, oh, okay, it's not going to be a direct sequel attitude, then I'm the enjoyment definitely went up.
But it's that much harder when there's that much time between Inquisition and Veilguard as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows the different iterations of the projects that it could have been. So yeah.
But excited for Exodus, are we?
100%. And hopefully it comes out this year.
I kind of want a series dedicated to Exodus, not just that one episode.
I can see that
How
happening.
would that even look? I mean, yeah, I think, was there something on Twitter where it said they were looking into more? I know Gamble retweeted something about Secret Level. I forgot what it was, but I would love to see more. I don't know if we would get more before they release the game though. That would be interesting.
Mm.
They've released the book, but I don't know.
I need to read the book,
One
although I've heard it's a challenging read.
It's a page turner. I think it's like almost 1,000 pages. So yeah.
The first, I've listened to it. Well, I've listened to some of it, and like the first 15 minutes is really hard going. It's just a lore dump at the very start of it.
Shoot. Okay. Well, I also have it. It's not audio though. I feel like it's harder to pick up on lore stuff audio. I don't know. Maybe just me. I feel like I'm not an audio specific person, but when I'm reading it, hopefully I'll digest it a bit better.
But no, we should. We need to let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So I obviously have my Mass Effect devoted channel right now at Paragon7. So just Paragon and then the number 7. But I believe my handle is it's written out as Paragon and then SEVEN. And I will be covering Exodus very shortly. It's expected to be like my 3rd video down the line. So yeah, if you love Exodus stuff, definitely hop on over there. And as for other socials, right now I'm on Blue Sky, and I believe my handle is just Atharia.Blue Sky, etc., etc. So yeah, love to see you over there as well. And yeah, I followed Craig on Blue Sky, but Tim, let me know if you have one as well, because I wasn't sure. I'm still trying to refollow everybody, so we can chat afterward and
absolutely. Yeah, we'll make sure all links are in the description as well.
Yeah,
alrighty.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for having me on, honestly. Like, love chatting about all the sci-fi stuff, and especially about Exodus. It's gonna be the next big thing, like for sci-fi. So
it is.
Super
I
excited
might
about it.
even pre-order. I haven't pre-ordered for a long time.
Okay.
I am quite
Okay.
excited for it.
Go on,
That's awesome.
Tim. Oh yeah, thank you for chatting with us.
No problem.
Ash, do you want to do the closeout, Craig?
I don't know what what would you say, Tim? I'm drawing a blank here.
No, just big thank you to everybody in the chat and for watching, and to Atharia for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm excited for the game. I think everybody else here is excited for the game. And on that note, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Right. Bye, guys.
See you in the next video, I guess. Or
There we go.